Hi friends, I'm sure you must be hearing this question a lot recently, but I'll still go ahead and ask it anyways. How are your board preparations going? I'm sure you're doing your best, but Top Scholar, the smart learning app, is here to hold your hand in this journey towards successful board examination. So today, to ensure the same, we are here solving a sample question paper and will help solve it together so that you are much better prepared. First, let's look at the weightage as per the different chapters. So, first has gravitation, which has 5 marks in total. Second comes the effects of electric current, carrying 7 marks in total. Refraction of light, which carries again 7 marks in total. There are questions from lenses, which carries 6 marks, and then the last comes space missions, which carries total of 5 marks. So if we total all the marks as per the weightage given to each chapter in this sample paper, we are sure to get 25 marks if we get all of them right. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started and start solving it. So first, periodic classification of elements, which carries 6 marks. Second is chemical reactions and equations chapter, also carries 6 marks. Then metallurgy chapter is carrying 6 marks. Questions and carbon compound carries 7 marks. Total 25 marks question we can gain out of this sample question paper if we solve it correctly. So I hope we will be able to do justice. So let's dig into this paper and start solving. The first question, hydrogenation of vegetable oil in the presence of nickel catalyst is known as dash, and the options we have are substitution reaction, B, oxidation reaction, C, addition reaction, or D, combustion reaction. This is a multiple choice question carrying 1 mark, right? So what do you think would be the probable answer? Hydrogenation of vegetable oil. Hydrogenation means what? Addition of hydrogen. There you go. You have your answer. It is going to be addition reaction. Let's check the solution if you are correct. Hydrogenation of vegetable oil in the presence of nickel catalyst is known as addition reaction. So let's look at the reaction as well. Here, this is the formula for vegetable oil. This is the structure of vegetable oil, which is an unsaturated fat. When hydrogenation of vegetable oil takes place in the presence of nickel catalyst, what happens? We get vegetable ghee or saturated fat. So we have added hydrogen in the vegetable oil. This is a hydrogenation process, or this is a addition reaction because there is an addition of hydrogen in this particular compound, right? This is a multiple choice question carrying 1 mark. The question is, deposition of a layer of molten tin on metals is an example of dash. Is it anodization? Is it tinning? Is it electroplating? Or is it alloying? So, deposition of a layer of molten what? Tin. So, if we are depositing, so here the deposition of a layer of what? Molten tin. So, if we are depositing tin, no other element, no other metal here, what is it? Tin on metal surface, then what rhymes with tin? Is it tinning? It can be tinning, right? Yes, it is tinning. There you go. You get your 1 mark easy. Let's see the solution though. Deposition of a layer of molten tin on metals is an example of tinning. So, we are absolutely right. If copper or brass vessels have not undergone the process of tinning, then a poisonous greenish layer might be developed over time on them, which will eventually spoil the contents stored inside them, right? So, that is the reason why tinning process is very important on especially on copper and brass vessel. Otherwise, over time in contact with air, it produces a greenish layer of substance which is actually poisonous. So, if we are using those containers to store any food items, it can make them contagious, right? So, this is a very simple numerical based question for 1 mark. At what depth will the acceleration due to gravity will have the same value as that at a height of r by 8? So, what do we have to find out? At what depth will the acceleration due to gravity will have the same value as that at height of r by 8? So, what are we given? We are given the height, that is r by 8. So, let's find out which of the alternative is true for this question. Is it r by 4, A, B, r by 8, C, r by 2 or D, r by 16? So, let's see the solution for it. So, first we will see that what we are given. Acceleration due to gravity at a height h, gh, we can write it as the formula g 1 minus 2h upon r, and then acceleration due to gravity at depth gd is equal to g 1 minus d by r. What we have to find is d, right? So, how are we going to find out? So, we have to find out at this depth, what would be this depth at which the gravity, acceleration of gravity will be equal to that when the height is r by 8. So, we can write it as g 1 minus 2h upon r is equal to g 1 minus d upon r, or we can also write it like this: 2h upon r is equal to d upon r. Now, if we bring it on this side, then what will happen? D is equal to, we can write it like 2r by 8 is equal to r by 4, right? So, this cancel. So, we can write it as r by 4. So, the correct alternative is r by 4, right? Fill in the blanks with correct alternatives and you can get 1 mark for this. Let's see the question. What r meter measures dash? It's a very simple question. You need to remember the unit of measurement. So, what r meter, WHM, represents what? What is it unit for? Is it A, electric energy, B, current, C, voltage, D, power? What did you guess? Let's see the correct answer. What r meter measures electric energy? So, the correct answer is A, electric energy. This is a 1 mark question. You have to fill in the blanks with correct alternatives. Dash satellite is used for the study of forests, deserts, oceans, polar ice on the Earth's surface. It is a very simple question. The question's answer lies within the question itself. First, we will just rule out the wrong answers. Let's try to see. First, A, weather. What do you think weather satellite would do? It is definitely in the question itself. It monitors the weather. What about Earth observation satellite? What would that be doing? It can be monitoring the forests, deserts, ocean, polar ice on the Earth's surface because it is monitoring. It is the Earth observation satellite. The name itself has it. So, this can be a possibility. Third, C, navigational. Navigation is all about finding routes, maps, right? The Google Maps that we use so often is using the navigation satellites. It always shows us where the traffic is most high, which is the shortest route, etc., etc. Correct? Then military satellite. Military satellite, what it would be doing? It would be taking care of the security of a particular country. Correct? So, for now, we can say that B looks like a probable answer. Let's see the solution. Earth observation satellite is used for the study of forests, deserts, oceans, polar ice on the Earth's surface. So, we have correctly guessed it is B, Earth observation satellite. Now, Let's see if we were right about the other satellites. A weather satellite is used to study and prediction of weather, right? So the weather forecasting is done using a weather satellite. Navigation satellite. Navigation satellite is used to fix the location of any place on Earth and then find the route to travel there. So, navigational satellite is used to fix the location at any place on Earth's surface in terms of its very precise latitude and longitude. Then, military satellite, it is used to collect information for security aspects. So, we were right all along that Earth observation satellite is used for the study of forest, desert, oceans, polar ice on the Earth's surface. I hope it helps. This is 1 mark question. This is a correlation based question. Answer the following by completing the correlation. Group 2 is alkali earth metal, dash is noble metals. So what do we have to write here? Which group is where noble metals belong to in the periodic table? So where do noble metals belong to? They are what? Inert metals, right? So these are belonging to what group? Group 18, right? Let's see the solution though. Elements in group 2 are called alkaline earth metals, while noble metals are included in group 18. So the answer here would be group 18, right? Hence the correct answer is group 18. I hope that's easy enough. Now here we have to write the IUPAC name for this particular structure, right? So this is a structural formula. We have to write the IUPAC name. So for writing the IUPAC name, what do we have to do? We have to follow certain rules, right? So we have to first find out the functional group. Then we have to count the number of carbon, if there is any double bond, single bond, right? So let's try to solve or name to this structural formula. So let's see the solution. The name, the IUPAC name is pentane 2-one, right? Because the functional group here is what? The functional group is ketone, right? And how many carbon atoms are present? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it is present on the second carbon, the functional group. That is the reason why we are writing pentane for the number of carbon compound. Then the suffix -one for the functional group, it is present on the second carbon, so pentane 2-one. So this is as simple as that, right? State true or false. Convex lens can form real and inverted image. This is a 1 mark question. All you have to do is state if this statement is true or false. We have learned about convex lenses and the type of images it forms. So what do you think? Convex lens can form real and inverted image. Is it true or false? It is absolutely true. A convex lens can form a real and inverted image. Thank you. Now here is an MCQ type question for 1 mark. And it's a very easy question which can very easily get you 1 mark. So let's look at the question. Choose the correct statements. A. Earth is revolving around the sun in circular orbit. Earth is revolving around the sun in an elliptical orbit. That is our option number B. C says Earth is revolving around the sun in a parabolic orbit. And D. Earth is revolving around the sun in an hyperbolic orbit. Which one do you think is true? So, is it revolving in circular orbit, which is complete circle? No, right? What about elliptical orbit? It is a possibility because our Earth is revolving around the sun because of the gravitation force from the sun. So, let's look at the solution. Earth is revolving around the sun in an elliptical orbit due to the gravitational force of the sun acting on Earth as centripetal force. So, this is the most important thing to remember, that because of the sun's gravitational force acting on Earth as centripetal force. That is the reason why Earth is revolving around the sun and is not moving from its position, and it is also moving in an elliptical orbit. This is again a numerical based question and it carries 1 mark. So let's see what we have to calculate here. Calculate the current flowing through a lamp which has a power rating of 50 watt and voltage of 250 watt. So we have to find the current, that is I. I is equal to what? And what are we given? We are given the power and we are given the voltage. So the power is 50 watt and voltage is 250 watt. So what is the formula to calculate? Let's see. So given that the power rating P is 50 watts, which is given here, and the voltage is 250 volts, which is also given in the question. So what we have to find out is I. I is equal to P upon V is the formula. So we can calculate power, we can replace by 50 watt and 250 is the voltage. So if we calculate, what are we going to get? We are going to get 0.2 and the unit of current is ampere. So the correct answer is 0.2 amperes. So I hope it helps. Give scientific reason. Electronegativity increases across a period. This is a 2-mark question. This is from, again, you have to know the periodic table very properly to understand how we read the periodic table, what does group signifies, what does period signifies. So now here we have to give a scientific reason that electronegativity increases across period. Is that true? Yes, it is. What is the reason for it? You just have to give that and get 2 marks. Let's see. Electronegativity increases as we move left to right in the period, because as we move across the period, what happens? The number of electrons in each shell increases, right? And these electrons carry what? They carry electronegative charge, right? So thus increasing the nuclear pull on the electrons. The effective nuclear charge increases and the atomic size decreases because of the pull. Therefore, the tendency to attract shared pair of electron increases, thereby increasing the electronegativity, right? Across a period, electronegativity increases from left to right while atomic radius decreases. So we should always keep in mind that once we go across the period from left to right, what happens? The number of electrons in the last shell increases, because of which what happens? The electric charge keeps increasing, and then because of that the nuclear force on them also starts increasing. Because of that the radius decreases as well as the electronegativity increases, right? The charge increases but the size decreases. It starts becoming compact because of the pull, right? This is a very interesting 2 marks question. Give scientific reason. So you have to give a scientific reason for this following statement. The bottom of a lake not freeze in severe winter even when the surface is all frozen. You must have also seen it in so many movies that the lakes get really frozen on top, and when a person tries to run on it, sometimes it breaks the ice and inside it is complete water and they sometimes get trapped inside it. So what is the reason that even in such severe winter, when the surface gets all frozen, inside the water is all liquid? Why is that so? Let's see the solution for it. The bottom of a lake does not freeze in severe winter even when the surface is all frozen because the conductivity of ice is low. So it does not let the heat to pass through it. Hence, once the surface is frozen, no further heat is liberated or absorbed by water. So its conductivity is low, or it is a low conductor of heat. So there is no more exchange of heat possible when the surface is frozen, and that is the reason why no further heat is liberated or absorbed by water beneath, and therefore water below never freezes. I hope it makes sense. Here is a 2-mark question, and you must have observed this practice very often if you take your watch for repair. So, give scientific reason for this practice. Watch repairer uses a magnifying glass. So, you must have seen that the watch repairer uses a magnifying glass. He attaches it to a spectacle on his eye and then repairs the watch. Why does he do that? You might say because watch has very minute parts. So what? What is magnifying glass going to do? Let's see the solution. A magnifying glass or simple microscope with a convex lens produces a larger and upright image of an object within its focal length. So, we have studied the formation of image for convex and concave lenses. So, in the simple microscope or the magnifying lens that we are talking about, which the watch repairer uses, it produces a larger and upright images. So, if we have small tiny parts in the watches, it is going to get magnified, right? So, whenever an object is placed within its focal length, it produces an upright and larger image. So, we needed this only, larger and upright image. So, that is the reason why the watch repairer uses this kind of lens. By adjusting the distance between the lens and the object, the image can be obtained at the minimum distance of distinct vision, right? Now, this allows watch repairers to see minute parts more clearly without eye strain, making it a valuable tool in watch repair, right? So, we already guessed why they need a magnifying lens, and because we know that the use of convex lens is to magnify and get an upright image if we place the object in focal length. So, by adjusting the distance, we can get an magnifying image of the tiny pieces which is present in a watch. So, that is the reason why magnifying glass becomes a very important tool for the watch repairers. I hope that makes sense. This is a 2-mark question, again from optics. What will be the location of the image if the object is placed at a far distance on the principal axis of a concave lens? So, this question involves the knowledge of how image formation takes place in a concave lens. What is a concave lens? Concave lens is where in a circular or spherical mirror, the reflective surface is in the inside, right? So, that is a concave mirror. So, how is the image formation takes place in it, and what will be the location of the image if the object is placed at a far distance on principal axis? So, let's see the solution to it. When the object is placed at a far distance on the principal axis of a concave lens, image is formed at the second focus on the side of the object in front of the concave lens. You can also draw the ray diagram for this concave lens. Place the object on a far distance on the principal axis, and then you can verify the answer. Thank you. This is again a 2-mark question, and it goes like this. Explain the bonds in a nitrogen molecule and draw its diagram showing the valence electron. So, this is, we have to draw a diagram. I hope you are at least better than me in drawing skills. So, let's see, we can explain the bonds in nitrogen molecules or not, and we'll try to draw a diagram also. The 2 nitrogen atoms in the nitrogen molecules are joined with each other by 3 covalent bonds. That is a triple bond, right? So, we can draw a diagram like this, right? So, here we can see that they are joined together using covalent bond, 3 covalent bond. This is how we write, right? So we always write it like this. These are the three covalent bonds with which they are joined together, right? So therefore, we can say that this is how the diagram is, and this is the nitrogen atom, right? So this is the last shell with the valency of 3 electrons. They share with another nitrogen atom to form a nitrogen molecule. So triple bond formed by the sharing of 3 pairs of electrons. So we can draw this diagram to answer this question. Again, we have a question for 2 marks. Enlist 4 factors that affects the rate of a chemical reaction. Okay, so we have to enlist 4 factors, any 4 factor that affects what? The rate of chemical reaction, right? So all the industries, they all work, all have different types of catalysts, enzymes to increase the rate of reaction in their industry, right? So this is, so what are the factors that can be changed or which can be improved so that the rate of chemical reaction can be changed? Okay, so let's see the solution to it. Catalyst. So first thing is catalyst. A catalyst is a chemical substance that speeds up the reaction, and it is also not used up or consumed during the reaction. So catalysts are those substances which increases the rate of reaction, and it does not even get used up. It just increases the rate of reaction. At the end of the reaction, it remains intact. It does not get consumed up that easily. Over a period of time, it does reduces a bit, but it does not get completely used up. Okay. Second factor is nature of the reactant. It influences the rate of reaction. For example, HCl is a strong and reactive acid, while acetic acid is a weak acid. It also has much to do with how the containing elements in it belong in the reactivity series, and if it is able to, and what is the reaction process that is taking place. If it is requiring a lot more energy as well, in that case also it affects the rate of reaction. So second point is nature of the reactant. Okay, so HCl is very strong and reactive, whereas acetic acid is weak acid and it is less reactive. Concentration of reaction. Direct proportionality exists between the concentration of reactants and the rate of reaction, right? So concentration is the third aspect or third factor. Surface area. Greater the surface area of reactants exposed for reaction, the greater the rate of chemical reaction. So these are the 4 factors which affects the rate of reaction. Other than that, temperature. Many reactions speed up at higher temperature as compared to room temperature. So at times we have to provide external energy or higher temperature so that the reaction can take place at a higher speed. You must have seen in many chemical reactions as well, you will see that we write heat or we draw this triangle under the arrow which represents that we are providing heat, right? So temperature also affects the rate of reaction. This is a very simple question of filling of electrons in different orbits. We have our octet rule based on which we can answer this question very easily. What is the maximum electron capacity of the shells? K, L and M shells. It's very basic, carries 2 marks. Okay, so this you must know. Let's see the answer. N is the principal quantum number equal to the number of shells from the nucleus. Okay, so now we have how many shells here? K, L, M. This is what is asked in the question, and N is the principal quantum number equal to the number of shells from the nucleus. Okay, so as per the shells increases, the energy levels also increases in an atom, right? Then following the rule of 2n square, electron capacity for each shell is as follows. right? So here for K, N is equal to 1, that is the first shell. So the number of electron capacity is equal to 2 into 1 square as per this rule. So the electron capacity of the shell K is going to be what? 2. Then for shell L, N is equal to 2, that is the second shell. The capacity would be 2 into 2 square, that is 8. For M, it is N is equal to 3, that is the third shell. So it will be 2 into 3 square, or we can write the electron capacity is 18. N, 4 is the shell number, fourth shell. 2 into 4 square, that is 32. So these are the electron capacity if we have been asked about number of shell, if we are given K, L, M, N, O. So as per the number of shell that is increased, we can write the electron capacity of the atom. Okay. A copper wire is held vertical by an insulating stand with the current also in the vertically upward direction. So now we are first going to draw a simple diagram to understand the question, and then automatically we'll reach the answer. So what we have done here is hold the copper wire vertically. So we are holding the copper wire vertically using an insulated stand, and current is also in the vertically upward direction. The current is in the upward direction. Now a horseshoe magnet is held such that the wire experiences force to the left. So the wire experiences force to the left, right? And as per the Fleming's left hand rule, it is always perpendicular, right? So we know that the wire experiences force to the left. What must be the direction of the magnetic field? What is the rule called? So rule, we already said it, that is the Fleming's left hand rule. And what must be the direction of the magnetic field? So the direction would be obviously again perpendicular to this axis, right? So let's check if our answer matches. The rule to be used here is Fleming's left hand rule. So we are correct about this part. Let the wire be held in a vertical plane, that we already saw that this is the vertical plane, and the direction of the current is also in the same direction. The direction of magnetic field is into the plane of the paper. So if we have a horseshoe magnet which is held, that the wire experience force to the left, so this is the force to the left. So in that case, what must be the direction of the magnetic field? The direction of the magnetic field is into the plane of the paper. So this is going to be the plane of the paper in which the direction of magnetic field is going to be. I hope that is clear now. So here we are with 3-mark question. Write a note. We have to write a note on position of isotopes in Mendeley's and modern periodic table. So we all have studied the Mendeley's periodic table and its transition to modern periodic table. What were the merits and demerits of Mendeley's periodic table and why it was changed? So we have to write a note, position of isotopes in Mendeley's as well as in the modern periodic table. It carries 3 marks. It's very, very important. So let's see the solution. Isotopes are the atoms of the same element having different atomic masses but the same atomic number, right? So first we'll start with the definition of isotopes, that are the atoms of the same elements having different atomic masses, right? Atomic masses are different but atomic number is same. That is the definition of our isotopes. Then Mendeley's periodic table follows the rule properties of elements are periodic function of their atomic masses. Thus, isotopes should be given separate place in Mendeley's periodic table, right? So, as per the Mendeley's periodic table, the properties of elements are because of their atomic masses, and isotopes are supposed to have different atomic masses although it has same atomic number. So, as per Mendeleev, since the atomic mass is different in isotope, they should be given different places in Mendeleev's periodic table, right? So, this is one of the demerits of Mendeleev's periodic table. Whereas, modern periodic table has a different way of putting things into perspective. So, modern periodic law says properties of elements are a periodic function of their atomic numbers. So, here the modern periodic table gets an upper hand, following which isotopes don't have a separate place in the periodic table, and therefore we know that what isotopes are in general, right? So, we don't see that, for if you see, then in that case carbon will have so many isotopes, right, and they would have so many different places in the periodic table. It will occupy, carbon will occupy so many places in the periodic table if we had followed the Mendeleev's periodic law only, right? So, the modern periodic table, since they give the more values to the atomic number, we don't have the isotopes in separate places in the periodic table. Here we have a very interesting question for 3 marks. Give reason. Corrosion is a redox reaction. So, what does redox means? Where reduction and oxidation process takes place simultaneously, right? So, corrosion, where you see a lot of times the rust takes place and spoils a lot of our important infrastructure which are made up of iron. So, that corrosion is a redox reaction. So, what is the reason for that? Let's see the solution to it. Rusting of iron takes place when iron corrodes in the presence of water and oxygen. That we know from a very young age, right? So, that is when the rusting of iron takes place, the properties of iron changes and the mass of the iron also reduces because of the reaction of rusting. And now, we are going to give reason for why we think this is a redox reaction. It is a redox reaction whereby oxygen acts as an oxidizing agent and iron acts as reducing agent, right? So, where is this oxidation taking place and where is this reduction taking place? Let's see. Different regions on the surface of iron becomes anode and cathode. Means that different areas on the surface of the iron acts as a positive charged area and negative charged area. So, now Fe is oxidized to Fe2+. So, there is the oxidation reaction that we are talking about. Now, in the anode region is where this oxidation is taking place. So, where is this reduction taking place? In the cathode region. And what is getting reduced? Oxygen is getting reduced to form water, right? So, now we can see what is getting oxidized. Fe is getting oxidized in the anode region and oxygen is getting reduced to form water in the cathode region. Now, when there is this anode and cathode region where oxidation reduction is taking place, at that time we can expect there is a movement of charges, right? So, what happens then? When Fe2+ ions migrate from anode region, they react with water, right? Now, we have Fe2+, which is formed because of the oxidation of Fe. Now, this Fe2 ion migrate from the anode towards the water which is formed at the cathode, right? Then what happens? And further gets oxidized to form Fe3+ ions, right? Now, this Fe3+ ions is a reddish colored hydrated oxide is formed from Fe3+. This Fe3+ participates in the formation of a reddish colored hydrated oxide. Now, this reddish color is what we see and we call a rust on the surface of a iron object, right? And it collects on the surface. It gets deposited on the surface and we say that this object is rusted because of the deposition of this reddish colored hydrated oxide. Is that clear? I hope so. Solve the following question. Here we have a very simple 3 marks question. This cannot get any simpler than this. First is, name the ore of tin. You just have to give the name of ore of tin. Second is, separation of impurities in bauxite. The main ore of aluminium can be done using leaching process by which 2 methods? So you have to name the 2 methods used in the separation of impurities in the bauxite, the main ore of aluminium, right? First is ore of tin, and then 2 methods by which we are separating the impurities of bauxite, which is the main ore of aluminium. So let's see the solution. So what is the name of the ore of tin? Cassiterite, right? Cassiterite is a tin ore. Now, what are the 2 methods that we are going to talk about? So, separation of these impurities is done by a leaching process using either Bayer's method or Hall's method. So, these are the 2 methods, and just by remembering these information, what do you get? Straight 3 marks. Congratulations. What is meant by latent heat? How will the state of matter transform if latent heat is given off? It's a very interesting question and you can get 3 marks out of it. And it is extremely important from the point of view of exam as well. So let's see the solution to it. Latent heat refers to the heat energy absorbed or released during a phase transition. So here the key word is phase transition. So, latent heat refers to the heat energy absorbed or released during phase transition without change in the temperature. So, there is a phase transition without change in temperature. The process involves a change in the internal energy of the substance without corresponding change in its temperature. So, temperature doesn't change, but the internal energy changes, right? So, that is what latent heat is all about. Now, the next part of the question is, how will the state of matter transform if latent heat is given off? So, if latent heat is given off, then the body in liquid state will transform into solid state, right? Because the internal energy is changing, but the temperature doesn't. So, it will change into the solid state, and the body in vapor state, it will also transform into liquid state. The phase is transitioning. This release of latent heat is related to the internal energy of the substance decreases during these state changes. So, this release of latent heat is causing what? It is causing the change in the internal energy of the substance, which decreases during these state changes. So, I hope that is clear now. This is a very interesting 3-mark question. If the tangential velocity of a satellite is roughly 3.2 km per second at the height of 36,000 km above the Earth's surface, what will be the time period of the satellite? In other words, how much time will the satellite take to complete one revolution around the Earth? So, suppose this is our Earth. What is given? It is given that the tangential velocity of satellite. So, tangential velocity, so the satellite is here, it is revolving in a circular motion like the satellites do generally, and the velocity is what? 3.2 kilometer per second, right? And at the height of, so what is this height? It is 36,000 kilometer above Earth's surface. So now to complete one rotation, how much time will it take? So what do we know? What is the radius of Earth? Radius of Earth is nearly 6,400 kilometers, right? So now we know that the satellite is rotating or it is orbiting around the Earth at 36,000 kilometers. So let's try to solve. We have the velocity, and we also have the height. So we need to know the time. So what is the formula? The time period is given by t is equal to 2 pi r upon v. We know the velocity, we know the height. So what are we going to do? We are going to replace the values in this formula. So 2 pi 36,000 is the height and 6400 is the radius of Earth. So we are going to add that to the height and multiply by 10 raised to 3 meter, because from kilometer we have to convert it into meter. Then what is the velocity? 3.2 into 10 raised to 3 meter per second. It is given in kilometer per second. So we are going to convert it into meter per second. So if we solve this, what are we going to get? The time period is 83,252 seconds, or we can also convert it into hours. That is going to be 23 hours, which is nearly a day. Just 1 hour less than a day. So this is close to 1 day on Earth. So if this is the tangential velocity and it is rotating or orbiting at the height of 36,000 kilometers, then it will take less than 1 day to complete one rotation around the Earth. So this is a 3-mark question which also has 3 parts in it. So we can say each question carries 1 mark. Let's see the first question. State 2 different types of telescopes and state an important difference between them. Second question is, between the objective and eyepiece, which has a smaller focal length? Third question is, where is the first image formed in a telescope? So every question carries 1 mark each. Let's try to solve them and see how many marks we can gather from this. So state 2 different types of telescope. The 2 different types of telescopes are, first is refracting telescope and second is reflecting telescope. So we already know that why refraction takes place when we use lenses. When reflection takes place, when we use reflective surfaces, that are mirrors. So by using combination of mirrors and lenses, the telescopes are made, very huge telescopes are made to magnify the images much more, to actually observe celestial bodies. We use reflecting telescopes. Next question, between the objective and the eyepiece, which has a smaller focal length. So what do you think? Even focal, we know that focal length also depends on the size of the mirror. Now, if you look at the structure of a telescope, you would know that the eyepiece has a smaller lens compared to that of the objective, right? So in that case, we can also deduce that the eyepiece has smaller focal length compared to that of the objective length. So again, we get 1 more mark straight up very easily. Third question, where is the first image formed in a telescope? Where do you think so? In the telescope, the first image is formed between the lens but closer to the eyepiece, right? So that is how the telescopes are made, so that the image forms closer to our eyepiece, and that is why we are able to see the far away object. So I hope this makes it very clear and you will be able to easily get these 3 marks in your exams. Next question is of 3 marks and it has 2 parts in it. So we can say that each part contains 1.5 marks. So let's try to answer each of them. Write the equation of acceleration due to gravity in terms of the mass of Earth m, gravitational constant capital G, and distance of the object r from the center of the Earth. This is the radius of the Earth. Is the gravitational acceleration constant at all the places on Earth's surface? What do you think? Is gravitational acceleration constant at all places? Do you think at whichever place on Earth you take any object and you drop it, the gravitational acceleration would be constant? Now, second question, what will be the acceleration due to gravity as we go inside the Earth? So now we are discussing here in first question the height and in second question the depth. So give reason for your answer. So if we go deep inside the Earth, what would be the acceleration due to gravity. So you have to also give a scientific reason for your answer. So let's see the solution to it. So in first part, we can say the equation would be G, that is the acceleration due to gravity, is equal to Gm, capital G and capital M, upon capital R plus h whole square, where h is the height above the surface of the earth and r, the radius small r, is equal to capital R plus h. So the resultant acceleration due to gravity would be capital R, that is the radius of the earth, plus that of the height at which the object is placed. So we can then prove that at different surface at the height h, we will have different values for the gravitational acceleration acting on that object. Now second part, as we go deeper into the earth, G should be very small as mass and denominator both decreases. So here the denominator as well as the mass decreases if we go deeper, as h is also decreasing since we are going deeper into the earth, and mass is also decreasing. So therefore we can say that the gravitational acceleration acting on object when we go deeper into the earth will be very small. This is a 3-mark question and we have to answer 2 parts of this question. Okay, so the first part asks, in a galvanometer, coil is placed between what? So we have studied how galvanometer is made and what is the use of galvanometer. And in the second part, a solenoid. So we have also learned about the solenoid, which is a helical coil, and when it is attached to a battery or electric source, it also produces magnetic field. The current is switched on when the solenoid is connected to battery. So there is a source of electric current, the current is switched on, and a separate single loop coil, okay, single loop coil connected to a galvanometer is moved in first scenario towards the solenoid and in second scenario away from the solenoid. Comment how the pointer will deflect. So the galvanometer has a pointer in it and we will connect it with a single loop coil and then we will bring it closer to the solenoid and then take it away from the solenoid. What will happen to the pointer? Will it be deflected and in what way? So you have to state a reason. So first, let's see what happens in the first case. In a galvanometer, where is this coil placed? The coil is placed between 2 pole pieces, right? So the 2 poles is connected with a coil in a galvanometer. And now, second question is the most interesting one, where you have to tell what would be the deflection scenarios in a galvanometer when you move a single loop coil towards and away from the solenoid. When the single loop coil is moved towards the solenoid, so first case towards the solenoid, the pointer deflects in one direction. Okay, so the pointer deflects in one direction. Now when it is moved away from the solenoid, the pointer deflects in opposite direction. Is that true? Why is that so? We have to give a scientific reason now. We just can't just say that, yeah, it is going to move in one direction. The other time it will move in the opposite direction. So the reason is because whenever the single loop coil is moved, the magnetic lines or the force passing through it changes, right? So whenever, we always know that whenever we are moving a coil, because of that movement, there is the change in the magnetic field lines. So if you are moving it towards it, it will move in one direction, and if you move the coil in the away from it, again there is a shift, and that is the reason why the pointer will deflect in a complete opposite direction. A current is induced in the single loop coil, right? This current produces deflection in the galvanometer. Because of the magnetic field lines caused by the solenoid, when you are moving a single loop coil, it will, under the influence of the magnetic field, it will have electric current. And because when we are moving closer and away, there will be a change in the direction of the current produced as well. And that is the reason why the galvanometer's pointer will also deflect in different direction. Here is a 5-mark question. Now, by looking at the question, it can seem intimidating, but there is nothing to be afraid of. It's a very simple question. Let's solve it one by one. So, this has 5 parts in it: A, B, C, D and E. So, whenever you find a bigger question with such parts in it, just consider it a victory, because it is going to be the most easiest thing. Okay, so now let's see the first, A. The phenomena in which more than one compound has the same chemical formula but different chemical structure. How easy is that? Isomerism, right? We have studied it number of times just by simply reading the question. This is the first thing that should come into your mind. A substance that does not conduct an electric current either in aqueous solution or in the molten state. What is it? Again, just a single name that you need to remember. Energy change of the atom when an electron is added to a neutral gaseous atom to form a negative ion. What is the energy change? Okay, so that we have to answer. D is process widely used in the extraction of aluminium. So there are 2-3 different processes by which the aluminium is extracted from its ore after the purification leaching process, but which is the most popular method that we have to mention. A bond formed by the complete transfer of electrons between atoms differing in electronegativity. What is that bond formed? What is the bond that is formed? So there is a transfer of electrons. So there is an ionic bond, right? So we have already, just by reading it, we have already answered 2 of this. Let's see the solution and see if you have guessed the rest of the 3 as well. So first is isomerism is the phenomena in which more than one compound has the same chemical formula but different chemical structure. Second is non-electrolyte, right? It is not forming any charges in either the aqueous solution or a molten solution, right? So non-electrolyte, so they do not conduct electricity even in aqueous solution or in molten state. Then answer for C is electron affinity, right? Then what is the most popular process? It is the Hall-Héroult process for extracting aluminium from its ore or purification of aluminium from its ore. Last is ionic bond, that is because of the ion exchange between the two elements, and when that bond is formed, that is called ionic bond, right? So we have answered all the 5 questions and gained 5 marks. It cannot get simpler than that. I hope you enjoyed learning it and you understood everything about it. Who doesn't like rainbow? But what is the phenomena that causes this rainbow? We have to also know that now that we have learned so much about reflection and refraction, right? So let's try to answer a very interesting question about rainbow and also try to grab 5 marks in that process. So let's see the question. Draw the diagram for production of rainbow in a spherical water droplet. Label the direction of incident light and other internal rays. And then the second part of the question, is the incident light monochromatic? That means, is it of single color? And describe in short the process of rainbow production. So basically, after answering this question, you will be able to tell how rainbows are formed. Isn't that interesting? So let's see the solution for it. So this is a spherical droplet and we have made a ray diagram using it. So as you can see that the sunlight is falling on the spherical droplet, and because the ray travels from sun to the droplet through air, it is going to be the rarer medium and the inside of the droplet is going to be the denser medium. So whenever a light passes through rarer medium to denser medium, what happens? Refraction, right? So during that time, the incident ray moves closer to the normal, right? So as you can see, this is the incident ray from the sunlight and it is refracting. That means it is bending slightly and moving closer to the normal. Then what happens? The inside of the droplet acts as a concave mirror, and in that what happens? It gets reflected. Now when it gets reflected, it touches the surface of the droplet, and then again what happens? From denser medium it tries to goes out. Again there will be a refraction here, and this entire process is the dispersion of light, and this is the same way how prisms also work. So here the sunlight is then getting dispersed into its component light elements, right? So we are now going to describe it and see that if we understood this entire phenomena. So let's see. Rainbow originates due to the dispersion of sunlight. So there you can see that there is a dispersion of sunlight. We can see one single incident ray, and what is coming out? It is giving out the dispersed ray, and it has components of color lights in it, and that is getting divided into different color lights when it comes out of the droplet, and that is why we see these 7 colors from the white light, right? Then a tiny water droplet acts as a small prism, right? Like we discussed. So here is the rarer medium where air is present, and when it gets inside the denser medium, that is the spherical water droplet, what happens? From the sun enters these droplets, it gets refracted and then dispersed, right? There is internal reflection at the bubble air interface. So here there is a reflection, right? So the rays again get reflected, right? Then what happens? The light gets refracted as it comes out of the droplet. Again, when it comes out of the droplet, again it moves away, it bends and it moves away from the normal, right? And then these components, the dispersed component of light, bends in different fashion, different angle, and therefore the resultant light that comes out gives us a spectrum of colored light, and that forms a rainbow.